Hello there, guys. If you are interested in learning scripting, you are in the right place. The programming language that we use in Roblox for scripting is called Lua U. Let us start from the top and learn two most important things you need to know in any scripting language. The first most important thing we need to know in scripting is how do we create a script. All you need to do is go to your Explorer, and if you don't see your Explorer inside Roblox Studio, you can go to View, and you can toggle on and off your Explorer window and the Properties window. Let's go back to the Home menu tab. Now, to create a script is very easy for us. You just have to go to the location where you want to create your script. For example, if I'm going to create a script inside the server script service, I'm going to hover my mouse cursor over the server script service. I'm going to see a plus sign, click on the plus sign, and select script from the drop down. In case you don't see script in the drop down, for example, after you click the plus sign and you don't see script here, you can search for it. Type in script here, and there it is. You can create it. You can select it from the drop down. Let me go ahead and delete the second script here. Press delete, and the script is gone. We have created our script in Roblox. We can go ahead and change the name of the script to anything we like. For example, change color. And you can change the content of the script to anything you like. For example, here's my script. That brings us to our second most important question in scripting. How do we run or execute this script? Fortunately, in Roblox, this step cannot be any easier for us because the script will run itself as the first player enters the game. Basically, there's nothing that you need to do because the script will run automatically as the server is being set up when the first player enters the game. The only thing you need to remember here is the script will only run when it is being placed in certain location. I have my script change color inside the server script service. This script will run on its own automatically when I enter the game. Let's play test and take a look. We're gonna give it a few seconds and you should see the base plate. And there it is. The base plate color has changed to yellow. The script has run on its own automatically as I entered the game. The script will also run on its own when it's being placed inside the workspace. Let's take, for example, I'm going to move the script from the server script service. I'm going to place it instead inside the workspace. And now let's play and take a look. Give it a few seconds. And there it is. To test run your script, you have a few different options. Up here, where the play button is, if you click on the down arrow, you see there's a play here, and run. You can select any of these three options to play test your script. For example, before I do that, let me change this script here. So instead of waiting for 8 seconds, and I'm not going to go over the script right now, we're going to do that later. I just want to show you how to run test the script. Let's go back to our workspace, and we're gonna select run here to run the script, and there it is. It changes the color to yellow immediately. On the other hand, as I have mentioned before, the script will only run when being placed in certain places. So for example, we have placed it inside the server script service, it's going to run automatically. Inside the workspace, it's going to run automatically. But if you move the script to somewhere else, for example, I'm going to place it inside the server storage now. If I press run now, you see the base plate has not changed color because the script did not run, because it's being placed inside the server storage, and the script inside the server storage will not run on its own. All these containers are services, and we're going to learn more about those services later on. Those are the two most important things you need to know before you start any scripting, is how to create a script and how to run the script. I'm going to now move my script back to the server script service, because in the server storage, the script would not run. Let me now go ahead and delete all these. Next, we're going to learn about variables and data types. A variable is just a container that holds different type of information. We call those different types of information data types. Some of the more common data types you would see in programming languages out there are, for example, numbers, strings, and booleans. Fortunately for us, in Roblox Lua, we do not need to specify the data type when declaring a variable. So you can just declare a variable and assign to it any object of any data type, and it would be fine. In some other programming languages out there, the compiler would yell at you if you ever attempt to do something like that. Anyway, let's now take a look at how we declare a variable inside Roblox. To declare a variable, you're going to start with the keyword local, followed by the variable name. For example, my variable name is message. So now I have a variable named message inside my script. Without initializing my variable now contains a nil value. A nil value means it has no value assigned to the variable. And later in my script, I can go down here and I can assign a value to that variable. For example, message equals to hello. So now my variable message contains a string. The data type is a string, and the value of the string is hello. And this is how you change the value of the variable, the content of the variable, just by assigning a different value to the same variable. For example, world. So now my variable contains the value world, which is a string. Let's now look at a different example. So for example, I have a variable count, and I'm initializing it to 0. 0 is a number. The data type of this variable now is a number. So my variable right now has a value of 0. It is not nil. If I just declare my variable without initializing it, the value is going to be nil. But here I'm initializing my variable to 0, so it has a value of 0. Another data type you can have is a boolean data type. So for example, here I have is raining equals to false. Means it is not raining right now. And then later on, I can go down here. When it is raining outside, I can change my variable to is raining equals to true. So this variable is raining has a boolean data type. We're going to learn more about boolean data type later in the program. But for now, let me go, and I'm just going to delete the script here. So select the script, press delete, and it's gone. And now let's create a new script. So we're going to go back to the server script service, click on the plus sign, select script, and here is our new script. If I go and run test right now, we know the script is going to run. And when the script runs, it's going to print this message, hello world. Let's run test and take a look. So it is running right now, but where is my message? I don't see hello world. Where is my message? The answer to that is it goes to your output window. To get to your output window, go to the View menu tab and hover over the output icon. Click on that. Here is my output window, and there it is. Hello world has been printed inside the output window. Let's now go and declare a new variable, local message equals to hello. And then I'm going to print that message. I'm going to do print message. Let's run test and take a look. You can see it has printed hello, which is the value of this variable. Hello here is a string. You can concatenate another string to that string. To concatenate another string to that string, you're going to use the two dots. So here I'm going to do dot, dot, and then I'm going to put another string here. For example, I'm going to put a space in there and say world. Let me stop this first, go back to the script, and now we're going to run it again. You can see now it printed hello world. The reason I put a space in there because I want to have a space between the O and the W. Without inserting a space in here, if I run, the hello and world is going to be printed together without a space between the two words. Let's take a look at this example here. This is a situation where you do not want to have a space in between the two strings. For example, here I'm declaring a variable a equals to good and another variable b equals to buy. Here we're concatenating a and b together, so we're concatenating good and buy together without any space in between, and then we're printing out our message. Let me just go and put in the local here to declare that variable message, and then run test and take a look. And there it printed goodbye. We're going to add 2 more lines here. So we're declaring a new variable c equals to Sam, and then here we're printing 2 things together on the same line. We're printing the message first. The message is goodbye, and then we're printing c. C is Sam. Let's run test and take a look. So the first printed statement here printed goodbye, which is this printed statement here. It printed goodbye. And the second printed statement is on line 7. It printed goodbye Sam. In this next example here, I'm concatenating strings and numbers. So my variable count here is a number. It has a number 5 in it. And I'm concatenating this string with my number count and with another string. And I need to put local in here as well. Let's run test and take a look. And there it is. It says I have $5. So I have comes from here. 5 is the count 5. Dollars comes from this string back here. Now I could have done the same exact thing by putting this directly inside the print statement. So I'm going to cut this, put it directly into here. Let me fix the format here, and I don't need the variable message anymore. I can remove that message variable. Let me stop here first, and we're going to run test again and take a look. And there it is. We got the same result without using the message variable. You can even do math inside your print statement. For example, my count here is 5, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to add 3 to it, plus 3. Make sure you put a space in there. Otherwise, it's going to think that the period is part of the number. So put a space in there, and now run test and take a look. There it goes. I have $8, which is 5 plus 3. The final thing I want to say about the print statement is you can print multiple values on the same line. For example, here I have 3 different variables, and I'm using a single print statement to print all 3 values on the same line. And there you see it, it printed. This is the variable A, B, and C, all on the same line. In scripting, it is recommended that you use comments inside your script. The comments is going to make everything clearer in case other people are looking at your script, or it's going to help remind you what the script means if you're going to come back and look at the script like a year later. So for example, right here, A equals to hello, and I could put a comment. Let me insert a comment up here. So I'm going to say A is for hello. And this is just a silly comment, but I just want to show you how the comments work. For example, here I have a comment, right? A is for hello. And then I go and run the script. You can see I have an error message because I didn't put in the comment properly. In order to use comments, you have to start with 2 dashes, 2 minus signs. And now this line here is a comment, and I can run the script now without getting an error message. Another way to insert a comment is, instead of having the comment on the line by itself, you can have the comment on the same line with your script. So I'm going to cut this here. I'm going to paste it right over here. And this should work as well. You see, no error message. I can go down here, and then I can put another comment. For example, B is for world. Let's now go to this print statement, and you're going to press and hold down the Control, the Shift, and hit the D a couple of times. That's going to replicate the line. Each time you press D, it's going to replicate the current line. So now we have a bunch of lines that we have replicated. Let's say if you want to comment out this entire block, how do you do it? Well, one way to do it is to go to the first line, put in minus, minus, and then bracket, bracket. And that's going to comment out everything from there all the way to the end of the script. Let's say if you don't want to comment out all the way till the end of the script, then you have to go down to the spot where you want to end the comment and put in 2 close brackets. And now it only comment out this entire block from the start to the end over here. So these 2 lines are not commented out. Let's say if you want to enter a block of comment from the start, you can do this, put in minus, minus, bracket, bracket, and now you can enter whatever you want. This entire block is a comment. Another way to comment out a line is to go to the line that you want to comment out and do a control slash. That's going to comment out that current line. If you want to undo the comment, just do control slash again to undo the comment. You can even comment out the entire block the same way. For example, I'm going to select all these lines that I want to comment out, do control slash. It's going to comment out the entire block that you have selected. And now if I want to undo the comments, I'm going to select the entire block again and control slash again to undo the comments. Up here, I'm declaring 3 different variables, and to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, we use the plus, minus, the asterisk, and the slash. In the next section here, we're doing the floor division. The floor division is gonna bring the number down to the nearest integer. As opposed to using a ceiling operation, it's gonna bring the number up to the nearest integer. Let's run and take a look. This first one here, the answer is 2 because 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. It's going to bring it down to the nearest integer, so that's a 2. This one here, the next one here is a 3. And here is also a 3 because you have a remainder of 1 and it brings it down. And look at this one here, is kind of interesting because 7 divided by negative 2 is negative 3.5. But instead of going to negative 3, it goes to negative 4 because it has to bring it down. So negative 3.5, negative 4 is less than negative 3.5, and that's why it brings it down to negative 4. In this next example here, we're using the caret symbol for exponential. So this is 2 to the 3rd power. It's the same as 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2. And here we're using the percentage sign for the modulus operator. So modulus is going to give you the remainder. Let's play and take a look. On line number 10, the answer is 8 because 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. And 5 mod 2 is going to give us 1 because 1 is the remainder. And 6 mod 2 is giving us 0 because it divides evenly. There is no remainder. Finally, the last thing we want to look at is the negative sign, the negation sign. The negation sign is just going to make it the opposite of what it is. So for example here, I'm starting out with b equals to 5, c equals to negative b, so c is going to be negative 5. Here we're starting out with the opposite. So b is a negative number, negative 3. C is negative b, so c is the opposite of negative 3. C is going to be 3. Let's run test and take a look. And here we have c equals to negative 5 because b is 5. And the last one here, c is 3 because b is negative 3. Those are the arithmetic operators that are most commonly used in Roblox. Let's now take a look at how to use relational operators in Roblox. Basically, you use a relational operator to compare 2 different values. And here I have the equal to comparison and the not equal to comparison. Let's run and take a look. On the first line, we're comparing is 1 equals to 2, and the answer is false. Second line, is 2 equal to 2? And the answer is true. Is 1 not equal to 2? Sure, it's true. Is 2 not equal to 2? The answer is false. Here we have more relational operators. This is the greater than sign. This is the less than sign. This is greater than or equal to. And this is less than or equal to. Let's run test and take a look. So the first one, the answer is false. 1 is not greater than 2. Second one is false. 2 is not less than 2. The third one is false as well. 1 is not greater than or equal to 2. And the fourth one, finally, we have a true answer. 2 is less than or equal to 2. Finally, let's take a look at logical operators. Up here, I'm declaring 4 different variables. A is true, B is true, C is false, and D is undefined, is null. Here we have a boolean expression. So a boolean expression is anything that gives you a value of true or false. So here we're saying A and B and A and C. So basically A is true, B is truth, it's true and true is true, and A is true and C is false, true and false is false. Let's run test and take a look. And here we have A and B is true and A and C is false. In this next example, we have C or false. So it is false or false is false. And here we have false or true is true. Let's run test and take a look. And there it is. C or false is false. And C or true is true. In this next example, we're using the not operator. So 1 equals to 2 is false. Not false is true. Let's run test and take a look. And there it is. The answer is true. Here we have a bunch of very interesting examples. Here I'm declaring A equals true, B equals false, D is undefined, is nil. Let's run and take a look. Starting from line number 5, we have the answer is false. A is true, true and false is false. True and true is true. Next one is 0. So A, now here's the rule in Roblox. If you're doing some other programming languages, the rule could be different. But in Roblox, everything is true except for nil and false. So nil and false are treated as false. Everything else is treated as true. So here we have true and 0. 0 is treated as true, so true and true is true. And the answer down here is 0. 0 is true, so therefore it's true. Next one, the answer is 1. Remember again, everything is true, so 1 is also true, so the answer is 1. 1 is true. On the next line here, now remember nil is treated as false. So you have A, which is true, true and nil. Nil is false, so true and false is false. And the answer is nil, nil is false, so false is false. On the next line here, we have true and D. D is undefined, so undefined value is nil, and nil is false. So true and nil, it gives you nil, nil is false. Just to show you that nil is false, so here I have A and D. A and D is going to give you nil, and here I have not nil. And down here, you see not nil is true. So nil is treated as false. And the final two lines here, we have B and nil. B is false, nil is false, so false and false gives you false. B and D, D is nil, so false and nil gives you false. Before we continue, I just want to remind you to take this opportunity to click that subscribe button under the video so you don't lose touch with our channel in the future. And click that bell icon so you can be notified of new tutorials that are posted in the future. And if you like this tutorial, please do share it with your friends. Leave us a comment under the video. We love to see your comments. Let us now take a look at a very important statement in scripting. It is the if statement. Up here, I'm declaring 3 different variables. I have a equals to true, b equals false, and c is 5. So a and b are booleans, c is a number. Here, we're using the if statement. So the if statement, you're going to start with the keyword if, followed by a boolean expression. So a boolean expression could be a boolean variable, or it could be a combination of things that returns a boolean value. Here we have a boolean variable, a equals to true. So we're saying if a is true, then print a is true. So it's going to print a is true. But here we're saying if b is true, then print b is true. In this case, b is false. So this statement here is not going to be printed. Basically, I'm using the print statement, but instead of the print statement, you can add whatever number of things inside, in between the then and the end. You can have 100 different statements to do all kinds of things in here as you wish. But we're going to use the print statement just to keep things simple, just to show you that the if statement is true, then it's going to go inside here and it's going to execute whatever is inside between the then and the end. Let's now run tests and take a look. Before we do that, let's open up the output window, view output, and now let's go and run. You can see that it only printed a is true because a is true, so it goes inside here. But since b is false, it's going to skip over. So from here, it's not going to do anything between the then and the end. It's just going to skip to the end. And that's why this statement here was not printed. In our next example here, we have a Boolean expression. So we're saying if a is true, we know a is true, and c equals to 5. So c equals to 5 is also true because c is 5. So we have true and true means that it's true, which means it's going to execute whatever is inside here. In this case, we're going to print Boolean expression is true. Let's run and take a look. And there it is, Boolean expression is true. In this next example here, we have the if-else statement. So we say if b is true, then do this. Else means if b is false, then do this. So if b is true, we're printing b is true. If b is false, we're printing b is false. In this case, we know b is false. Let's run and take a look. And there it is, it printed b is false. So when it checks if b is true, b is false, it's going to skip whatever is inside here. It's going to jump to here, and then it's going to do whatever is inside the else statement. Here, we're using the else if statement. So we have the if statement. If b is true, then print b is true. In this case, b is false. So it's going to go to the next statement here, which is the else if statement. So it says else if, not a is true, so not a is false. So we know it's going to skip this because false and anything else is going to be false. In this case, c equals 5 is true, but it does not matter because with the and operator, only one of the two factors are false, then the result is going to be false. So it's going to skip this, whatever is inside here, and it's going to jump to the else statement. It's going to print Boolean expressions are all false. And there you see it. It says Boolean expressions are all false. Here you can see I'm using a single else if statement here, but you can literally insert as many else if statements in here as you wish. For example, if I'm going to copy this and I want to insert another else if statement, I'm just going to paste it in here. Or I can paste another one in here. Just make sure the condition is something new, something different. So for example, I'm going to get rid of one of these. So I'm just going to use 2. And here I'm going to say if else if c is 5, we're just going to print c is 5. So let's take a look at how this thing is going to work. It's first going to check is b true. B is not true. So it's going to skip to here. It's going to check not a and c equals 5. So not a is going to be false, so it's going to skip this one. It's going to go to this one. C is 5, so it's going to print out this statement here. Once it has found a true statement, in this case, this statement here is true, it's going to do whatever is in between here, and it's going to jump all the way to the end here. So this else statement will not be executed. Let's take a look. C is 5, as we have expected. B is not true, so skip this. Not A is false, it skips this, but C is 5. So this statement here is true. It printed C is 5. And it jumped all the way to the end. So the else statement is never executed. Now here you can see our script is pretty nice. What if I go and mess it up? Okay, what if I have something like this? You can see it's very hard to read. So how would we fix it? Well, in Roblox, there is an auto format option. So for example, if I want to reformat all these 3 lines up here, right? I just have to select the 3 lines, go up here, and you can click on format selection and select format selection. You see the 3 lines has been reformatted to line up properly. If you want to reformat the entire document, you can just go up here, again, click on here and select format document. The entire document has been reformatted to line up nicely. Let's now learn how to declare variables that reference to objects inside your game. For example, here I have a red block and a ball, and they are inside the workspace. So now I'm going to go to the ball, I'm going to add a script, and I want to declare a variable named ball that reference to the ball. So ball equals to, and let's take a look. So my script is here. The ball is the parent of the script. So I'm just going to say ball equals to script dot parent. Now this variable here is referencing to this ball object inside the workspace. And whenever I want to change anything in the ball, for example, change the property, I'm just going to use this variable here to change its property, and the ball's property is going to be changed. Now, what if my script is not inside the ball, but it's inside the block here? So here's my block. Let me rename this to make everything clear. All right, so now what if the script is inside the block and I want this variable ball to reference to the ball? How would I do that? The answer is I would have to traverse this Explorer hierarchy to get to the ball. So my block is right here, and to get to the ball, I would have to go up to the workspace and come back down to the ball. So from here, from the script, let's say, so we have the block is script.parent. So script.parent is going to get me to the block, but then I need to go up more. So that's going to be .parent again, because the workspace is the parent of the block. So I have to do another .parent here. And then to get to the ball, I'm going to go from the workspace. So right now we are at the workspace. To get to the ball, we have to do .ball. And that is how we reference to the ball from a script inside the block. Another way to get to the ball from the script is just to start at the root and go down. So to start at the root, you're going to say ball equals to game.workspace. So now we are inside the workspace now, and we just have to get down to the ball. So we do .ball. Here is another scenario here. So what if my ball is not inside the workspace, but it's inside one of these services? So all these here are services. What if it's inside the server storage? So the ball is inside the server storage. How would I reference to the ball from the script over here? Well, first thing we're going to do is we're going to declare that service. So the service that the ball is inside is the server storage. So we're going to say local server storage. We're just declaring a variable here equals to game : get service server storage. And now we can declare the ball by saying local ball equals to server storage, which is our variable here, .ball. And that is going to reference to the ball inside the server storage. And those are the different ways you can traverse the Explorer hierarchy to get to the objects inside the Explorer. In my workspace, I have 2 large cubes, a red cube and a blue cube. Now let's go to the red cube. If I change the transparency of that cube, instead of 0, I change it to 1, you can see the cube has disappeared. Let's return the transparency back to 0. And now we're going to use script to make that cube disappear. Let's go to our server script service. We're going to click on the plus sign, add a script. And inside your script, just enter the following lines. We're declaring a variable red to reference to our red cube, which is inside the workspace. So here it is, game.workspace, going to take us to here. dot red is going to reference to the red cube. We're going to wait for 12 seconds before we do anything, and then we're going to change the transparency property of the red cube to 1, which is going to make it disappear. Let's play test and take a look. I have a blue cube and a red cube. So give it 12 seconds or less, the red cube should disappear, and it's gone. But notice one thing, when it's gone, I still cannot walk through it because I'm still hitting the cube. Right now the cube is just invisible, but it's still there. We cannot walk through it. Actually, I can jump on top of it. You see that? So let's go back to the script. We need to do one more thing to make the cube completely gone. So in order to make something completely gone, you would also have to change the can't collide property of that object. We're going to go down here. We're going to say red dot can't collide. Set it to false. So now other objects can no longer collide with this object, and the object is going to be as if the object is completely gone from the workspace. Let's play and take a look. You can see the red cube is here. I cannot walk through it right now, but give it a few seconds and it's gone. Let's see what happens if I walk through it. I walk right through it. Can I jump on top of it? No, I cannot jump on top of it because it is gone. Let's now learn how to script changing colored parts. Here in my workspace, you can see I have 3 cubes. I have a red cube, a blue cube, and a green cube. Let's now go to the server script service. We're going to enter a script to change the color of those cubes. In your script, just enter the following lines. On the first 3 lines here, I'm declaring 3 different variables. The first variable is going to reference to the red cube. Second variable is going to reference to the blue cube. And the third variable is going to reference to the green cube. Notice here there are 2 different ways of referencing to the workspace. You can say game.workspace with the capital W, or you can simply just say workspace with the small w. Here I'm waiting for 3 seconds before I do anything. And now we want to change the color of the red cube. So I'm going to use the variable red. I'm going to say red dot brick color. And I'll give it a different color, a different brick color. So here equals to brick color dot. And then you have a drop down list. You can choose any color here you like. So I'm going to choose a new color for my red cube. So my red cube now, after 3 seconds, is going to turn yellow. This is one way of changing the color of the part. Now, if you want to have more color selection, you can do it this way. So let me just copy this so I don't have to retype it. We're going to wait for another 3 seconds, and then we're going to change the brick color again. But notice one thing here. If I do brick color dot, I get a drop down list, right? And there's not too many choices here. So if you want to have more choices here, you can say dot new, and then inside the parentheses, just put in double quotes. And now you have tons of different choices to choose from. So for example, my second brick right now is blue. I'm gonna change it to, how about curry color. I'm also going to change this to the variable blue, because if we say red here, it's going to change the color of the red cube again. So here we're changing the color of the red cube. On the second part here, we're changing the color of the blue cube. And now if that is not enough color for you still, you want to have even more color than that, you can do this. So let's copy this. And down here, we're going to change the color of the green cube. So I'm going to say green here. And instead of changing the brick color of the green cube, I'm going to change the color property of the green cube. So I'm going to say color equals to color 3 dot new. And here you can see that there's some icons popping up underneath here for you, right? So the current color that you're changing to is black, but you can click on this palette here and you can choose one of millions of color in this palette. So my cube right now is green, right? So I'm gonna choose something different. How about I'm gonna choose something like yellowish. Click OK. And by the way, I just want to point out, if you have your favorite color that you want to use, you can search it up on the web and get the RGB number here. Just go and enter those numbers here, and then you would have your specific color that you want to choose. For now, I just pick a color from this palette, which is yellow, and I'm gonna click OK here. And that is how you can get millions of different colors to choose from. Real quick, I just want to explain the difference between brick color and color. So you have the brick color property and the color property. If you go to the part here, let's say if I go to the blue part here, right? Go to the properties window, you're gonna see a brick color and you're gonna see a color here. And no matter what you change, one of these two, for example, if I change this one to red, they both gonna change. If I change this one to something else like blue, light blue, you see they both gonna change. But remember, the color property, you have more choices. So when you pick a color from the color property, the system is gonna try and match this color with the brick color, but it's not gonna be an exact color because the brick color, you don't have as many choices. All right, so if you pick a color from the brick color, most likely the color property is gonna match exactly, but not the other way around. Now let's put this back to blue. And let's go back to the script. There is one more thing I want to show you is that if you want to be adventurous, let me just copy these two lines here. So here we're changing the color of the red brick, we're changing the color of the blue brick, and then we're changing the color of the green brick. And now we're going to go back to the first brick and change its color. Now, again, if you want to be adventurous, you can let the system select a random color for you. So here you're gonna say red.brickColor equals to brickColor dot, and here you're just gonna say random. And now the system will pick a random color for the brick color. I'm gonna switch back to the workspace and let's now run and take a look. So give it 3 seconds and the first cube changed color to yellow. The second cube changed to yellow as well. And the third cube changed to yellow as well. Wow! And this is the random color. So we have selected all of the same color, I assume. So the first one is yellow. The second one is curry. Curry is kind of yellowish. And the third one that we have selected is also yellow. What luck! Luckily, our random color is green. And that is how you script a changing color part in Roblox. Let's now take a look at different examples of how to change different properties of a part in Roblox. So here I have 3 different parts. We're just gonna focus on the red cube for this example. So if you click on the red cube and you go to the properties window, you can see like there's a bunch of different properties. We're now gonna learn how to change some of those properties. So now let's go to our service script service. We're gonna enter a script, and in your script, just enter the following lines. On the first line, we're declaring the red cube. On this line here, we're changing the transparency property of the red cube. So if you go to the red cube, select the red cube, right? And go to the properties window, look for the transparency property. You can see that it goes from 0 to 1. So it is a number. And to change the property, you just enter a new number. For example, here I'm changing the property, the transparency property of the cube. You can see as I enter a new number for the transparency, it changes the transparency of the part. So when you enter 1, it disappears. And if you enter anything between 0 and 1, then it's like semi-transparent. Back to 0, then it's back to normal. To change this type of properties where the property is a number, you just set the transparency property to a new number. In this case, this transparency property, the number is between 0 and 1, so you can set it to any number between 0 and 1. So it could be 0.5, 0.7, or whatever, from 0 to 1. The next property that we want to look at is a property that has a boolean value. So anything inside this property window that has like a checkbox, then that is a boolean value. So if it's checked, then it's true. If it's unchecked, then it's false. Here we're changing the anchor property of the part. Here you can see there is an anchor property. Right now it's unchecked, so it's false. Then we're just gonna change this to true. Then when you run the script, the part will be anchored. These 4 lines here, we're changing the color of the part, and we have done this in our prior tutorial. So if you like to learn more about changing the color of the part, you can refer to our prior tutorial for more details. We're just changing the brick color, different ways to change the brick color. This one is going to give it a random color, and if you want more choices to select from, you change the color property as opposed to the brick color, and that would give you millions of choices to choose from. The main lesson I want to add here is how do we change the property, the material property of a part. So here you see there's a material property of the part, and if you click here, you're gonna see there is a drop-down menu for you to select from. So there are all these different types. So how do we change from plastic to grass, let's say, right? Using script. So to change the material property or any property that has like a drop-down menu, you would go and say, start with the variable that reference to the part. So we're gonna say red dot, followed by the name of the property. So it's gonna be material equals to enum. So enum is going to give you a list of things for a property. So you're going to say enum dot material, and you can see here there are different kinds of stuff here. So all these are like the properties that has the drop down list. So say if you wanted if you're working with user input type, then you would come here and you say enum dot user input type. But right now we're changing the material property. So we're going to say enum dot material dot again, and this is the list right here. So this is the same list that you would see when you click on this material here. And now we're just going to select grass asset, right? So we're going to change it to grass, and that's it. That's how you change the material property of a part. And these are how you change all the different types of properties of a part. What is a compound assignment? Basically, it is when you have a variable. Here I have variable a equals to 100, and I'm just taking that same variable. I set it equal to itself plus another entry. So that makes it a compound assignment. In this case, we're adding on the value 1 each time. So I have here a equals to 100, and here a equals to a, which is 100 plus 1. So now a is going to be 101, and then I print out a here. Then I go to the next line. So a here is 101 plus 1. It's going to be 102, and I print out 102, and here it's going to print 103. So this is the regular way of doing the compound assignment without using the compound assignment operator. And down here, we're using the compound assignment operator to do the same exact thing as up here. But this is like a shortcut. So I'm just saying a plus equals to 1. It means that a equals to a plus 1. Then I print it out. We're starting out with a equals 100 as well. So the result up here should be exactly the same as the result down here. The only difference is we're using the compound assignment operator, which is a shortcut of doing something like this. Let me now open up the output window, and we're going to run and take a look. And there you see it. So here on line number 2 is printing 101, 102, 103. And we go down to line number 7. It's also printing 101, 102, and 103. Here are some more examples. So instead of adding 1 each time, here I'm adding 5 each time. And here I'm subtracting 10 each time from A. Let's take a look. Here we have 105, so it's 100 plus 5 is 105, then it goes to 110, 115. Down here, you know what? So we went from A equals to 115 here, right? So 115 minus 10, it gives us 105 here. And then we subtract another 10, so we got 95 and then 85. The compound assignments are mostly used for addition and subtraction, but you can also use it with other arithmetic operators. For example, here we have multiplication, division, and floor division. Let's take a look. On line 2, so here we'll multiply by 2, so it goes to from 100 to 200, then it goes to 400 and 800, because we're multiplying by 2 each time. In the next section here, we start out from 100, we divide by 2 each time, so it goes to 50, 25, and then I have 12.5, because 25 divided by 2 is 12.5. in the final section here, we're doing a floor division. So 100 divided by 3 is 33.333, but we're doing a floor division, so it drops it down to the nearest lower integer, which is 33. And then 33 divided by 3 is 11. 11 divided by 3 is 3 point whatever. It gets down to the lower integer, the closest lower integer, which is the number 3. Here are some more interesting examples. On this line here, we're doing the modulus. We have exponential here, and we have concatenation here. Let's take a look. So on this line here, we have 100 mod 3, means that we're taking the remainder of that division. So it's 100 divided by 3, and we're taking the remainder, so the remainder is 1. On this next line here, we're doing exponential. So 100 square gives us 10,000, and 10,000 square, we get this number right here. Finally, at the bottom here, we have concatenation. So we start out with by, we concat cu to that, we get this one right here, this one right here, and then we concatenate cu to it again, we get this line over here, so we got by cu. That's how you use compound assignment operators in Lua. Let's now take a look at how to use the while loop in scripting. The while loop is a very common loop that is being used in all different kinds of programming languages. And you use a loop in scripting, in programming, when you want to repeat certain code over and over again. In this case, we want to repeat these two lines here over and over again. So let's start out from the top here. We're declaring a variable count. So count is going to be our counter. And here we have a while loop. We say while count is less than or equal to 5. This is our boolean expression. That's our condition. If this condition is true, it's going to go inside here. It's going to execute these two lines. If this condition is false, it's just going to skip to the end and exit out. So count here is 1 is less than 5, so the condition is true. It's going to go in here. It's going to print out count, which is 1. It's going to print 1, and it's going to add 1 to count. So count is now going to become 2. We're using the compound assignment operator here. So it's the same as saying count equals to count plus 1. Once it hits the end, it's going to go back up here, and it's going to check the condition again. So count, we added 1 to count here, so now count is 2. So 2 is still less than 5. It's going to do this and this again, and it goes back up. Count is going to become 3, and it's going to keep on doing that till count is 5. 5 is still equal to 5, so it's going to do this and this again. Now count is 6. It's going to go back up. It's going to check is 6 less than 5. That is false. Once the condition is false, it's just going to exit out and execute whatever is next after this. But since we don't have anything else after that, so it's just going to end there. Let's run and take a look. And there you see it. So first time through, it's going to print out count is 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5. Once count is 6, it goes back up. It's not going to do anything here. It's not going to do anything here. So that's why it's not printing 6, because it's just going to exit out. In this next example here, we have an infinite while loop. So here, our condition, we say true. So true is always going to be true. It's never going to be false. So it's going to keep on looping forever. It's never going to stop. So we start out again with count equals to 1. While true do, this is always going to be true. So it's going to go into here. It's going to print hello and count. So it's going to say hello 1. It's going to add 1 to count. Count is going to be 2. And we have to put a wait in here. Otherwise, it's going to run too fast. So we want to slow down this loop. Whenever you have an infinite loop, you want to slow it down a little bit so it doesn't kill your system. We're going to wait for 1 second here. And then we're going to go back up here again. We're going to check this. This is always going to be true. It's going to print out hello count. Count is going to be 2. And then we go here. We increment count to 3. And it's going to loop back up. It's going to print hello 3, hello 4, and so on. It's never going to stop. It is an infinite while loop. Let's take a look. And there it goes. Hello 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's never going to stop. So that is how you use the while loop in scripting. In scripting, you use the for loop when you want to repeat a bunch of code for an exact number of times. Here's an example of a for loop, and in this case, I want to repeat this statement 5 times. To declare the for loop, you start with the keyword for, and then you declare a variable, which is going to be your counter. It's going to go from 1 to 5. The first time going through, I'm reading this for statement, my I is going to be set to 1, and I'm going to do everything in here. Once I hit the end, I'm going to go back up here, and my I is going to increment automatically by 1. So it's going to go to 2. I'm going to do everything in here. So now if I print I now, it's going to print out 2. As opposed to the first time I go through, when I print I is going to be 1. It's going to hit the end, goes back up. Now my I is going to be 3. It's going to print 3. And then it's going to continue until I is 5. It's going to go and print out 5. When it hits the end, it goes back up. I is 6. 6 is greater than 5. The condition is false. It's not going to do anything here when the condition is false. It's just going to exit out. Let's run tests and take a look. So here it is. The first time it goes into the loop, I is 1, it printed out 1. And then it loops back up. I is incremented to 2, it printed out 2. And it keeps doing that. So it printed out 3, 4, and 5. When I is 5, it goes into the loop, it printed out 5, goes to the end, goes back up. I is now 6. 6 is greater than 5, so the condition is false, and then it just exits out of the for loop. Now your for loop also has a third parameter, which is the incrementation. You can indicate how much to increment by each time you loop through the loop. For example, now we're going to increment each time by 2. So the default is 1, but you can specify how much to increment each time. So for example, we're going to start from 2, let's say, and we're going to go to 20. Each time we're going to increment I by 2. Let's run tests and take a look. So here it is. It starts out with I equal to 2, then 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, all the way to 20. Once it hits 20, it goes back up. I is 22. 22 is greater than 20, so it just exits out of the for loop. If you need to do a countdown, you can also use the for loop to do a countdown. For example, here, I'm going to start counting down from 10, and I'm going to go to, let's say, 0. We're going to subtract 1 each time. So we're going to put in -1 here. So when it first goes into the loop, I is going to be 10. The second time, I is going to be 9, and it's going to keep on going until I is 0. Then it's going to exit out of the loop. Let's take a look. And here it is. First time going through, I is 10, then 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, all the way to 0. And that's how you use the for loop in scripting. Here in my workspace, you see I have a part named red. And let's go to the properties window. You see the part has a position property and an orientation property. The position property indicates the position of your part inside your game's 3D world. The orientation property indicates the rotation of the part. The value of these two properties is a vector 3. A vector 3 consists of 3 components. It has the x component, the y component, and the z component. From looking at my view selector here, you can tell my y-axis goes up and down, my x-axis, the positive direction is to the right, and the z-axis, the positive direction, is towards me. So if I go and change the x component from -2.5 to 5, let's say, it's going to move my part to the right. And there you see it. The same goes for the y-axis. If I change from 4.0 to 10, let's say, it's going to move the part up in the air. And for the z component, if I change from 26 to 35, let's say, it's going to come towards me. As for the orientation, it is in degrees. So let's say if I change the y component by 45 degrees, you're going to see that the part is going to rotate by 45 degrees. And the same goes for the other 2 components. So you have the x component for the rotation and the z component for the rotation. In this case, we're rotating around the y-axis. So basically that's how the position property and the orientation property work. Now let's go and see how we can make changes to those properties using script. We're going to go to our service script service. We're going to add a script. In your script, first declare your part. So local part equals to game.workspace dot, the name of my part is red. Now we want to change the position of the part. So I'm going to say part dot position. And remember, again, the position property is a vector 3. So to change the position property, you want to add or subtract a vector 3 from the current position. So I'm going to say, this time I'm going to add equal. So we're using plus equal is the same as saying part.position equals to part.position plus a vector 3 dot new. And in here we have the x, y, and z component. So I just want my part to move up in the air. So I'm going to say 0 for the x component. For the y component, I want to move it up by 10. And for the z component, I'm going to say 0. So that's going to move my part up in the air by 10 units. Just make sure that your part is anchored. So let's go back to the game here and make sure your part is anchored. Back to the script. We're going to do a task wait of, let's say, 5 seconds. And then we're going to add a rotation. So we're going to say part dot orientation plus equals to, the orientation is also a vector 3. So we're going to say vector 3 dot new. And here again, I want to rotate about the y-axis. So I'm going to say 0 for the x component. And for the y component, I'm going to rotate it by 45 degrees, 0 for the z component. Let's get ready and we're going to run test and take a look. So you see my part went up in the air, and give it 5 seconds, it's going to rotate by 45 degrees. Let's now learn how to make a moving part in Roblox. Again, here I have a part named red. Let's go to our service script service. We're going to add a script. In your script, first declare the part. We're going to say local part equals to game.workspace.red is the name of my part. From our last lesson, we learned that we can reposition a part by changing the part's position. So let's start by doing that. We're going to say part.position plus equals to a vector 3 dot new 0 comma 0.1 comma 0. So basically we're adding 0.1 to the y component. We're moving the part up by 0.1. To turn this into a moving part, I'm just going to put it inside a for loop. So here I'm going to say for I equals to 1 through 700. So we're going to repeat this 700 times, do, and I'll put this inside the for loop. Cut and paste it into the for loop. We want to put in a task wait here to slow down the loop a little bit. Basically, this for loop is going to execute these two lines 700 times. Each time it's going to move the part up in the air by 0.1 of a unit. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to go down here. I'm going to do another task wait. Maybe for 4 seconds this time. This time, instead of moving the part up, I'm going to move it to the right. So I'm going to say 0 here and I'm going to move it 0.1 in the x direction. Let's just do this for 200 times. One very important note to add here is you got to make sure your part is anchored when you're trying to do this. If your part is not anchored, it's not going to work. All right, let's run and take a look. You can see the part is moving up. It's going to move up 700 times before it stops. Okay, it has stopped, and now it's going to move to the right 200 times. and it stopped. That is how you make a moving part in Roblox. In our last tutorial, we have learned how to move this part up in the air and to the right using script. And here is the script that we use. Notice here that we are repeating this section of the code 2 times. And in many cases in scripting, you can repeat the same section of the code more than 2 times, maybe even hundreds of times. So in those cases, it is better to define your own function to perform this task. And whenever you want to perform the same task over and over again, you're just going to call your own user-defined function. To define your own function, we're going to go up here and we're going to enter the keyword local, followed by the keyword function. And you're going to give it a name. For example, let's call it move part. I like to start my function name with a capital letter, so I'm going to say move. As opposed to a variable, I start out with a small letter. Like here, part, I use a small letter, but for the function name, I like to use a capital letter. So let's say move part, 2 parentheses, hit enter, and it fills in the end for you. Now, instead of doing this here, I'm going to call my function right here. So I'm going to say move part. And instead of executing this portion of the code here, I'm going to cut this and I'll put it inside my function. So now when I call my function, it's going to do this section of the code for me. It is the same as having this code here, right over here. Before we run tests, just a reminder, remember to anchor your part, otherwise it's not going to work. Let's now run tests and take a look. And there it is. You see the part is moving up. It's going to stop, and then it's going to move to the right. There it is. So our code with the user-defined function worked exactly the same way it worked before. So what is the benefit in doing this, you may ask? Well, the benefit is we now can get rid of this section of the code here. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the function here, right? So I'm going to say move part. So we're calling the same function to perform the same exact code here in here instead, right? Let me comment this out. Do Control/ to comment out your code. So this part here is not going to be executed anymore. The reason I don't want to delete it because there are differences between this code and this code. For example, here we're moving in the X direction and here we're moving in the Y direction. So if I just call the function as the way it is right now, it's not going to work because it's going to continue to move the part up in the Y direction. What I want to do is instead of hard coding this inside a function, I want that to be a parameter. So I'm going to cut this, and how about we call this vector? So it's going to be a v. So we're passing in a v, and we're going to use the v here for vector 3, and here we're passing in the vector 3 here. So I'm going to paste this in. If you like, you can declare this, load this into a variable and pass in the variable here. That is up to you. I'm just going to pass in the vector 3 here. And in this case down here, I have to pass in this vector 3. So I'm going to copy this and put it in here. This way, when I call the function the first time, it's going to move the part up in the Y direction. But when I call the function the second time, it's going to move the part in the X direction. Let's see if it works. There it is. It's moving the part in the Y direction. And now it should move the part in the X direction. It worked. Previously, you've seen how we declare a function with no parameter. In this case here, we have a function with 1 parameter. But there's one other thing. You see this one is moving the part up by 700 units. Well, 700 times. It's executing this loop 700 times. But in this case here, we only want to execute that loop 200 times. That means we need another parameter. So our first parameter is the vector 3 that we're passing in. The second parameter has to be this number. So here I'm going to change it to 700. In the second time that we're calling the function, we're calling it with a 200 times parameter. So this one is going to be 200. We have changed the call to the function. Now we have to go and add that parameter to the function. So we're going to say comma. We can call this m. And we're going to do this m number of times. So it's going to go from 1 to m, where m is the number that we're passing in. It is the second parameter of our function. Let's now run and take a look. You can see the part is moving up. So it should go up for 700 times, and then it should move to the side only 200 times. So it should stop very soon. And there it is. Now we can get rid of this code here because we no longer need it. You can see our code now is a little cleaner because we only do this part of the code one time. Other than that, we're using the function to execute that code. Now, if in your game you're doing this 100 times, this code here would be much cleaner than before. The next part here is unrelated to our example here, but I just want to add one more thing, is your function can return a value. For example, so here I'm going to say return m plus 5. And here we're going to print out that value. Print. Or you know what? Let me put this into a variable. So here I'm going to declare a variable, local, return value. And here we're going to say return value equals to this function. So this function is going to return a value, and you can use that value for whatever you need. In this case, I'm just going to add 5 to the parameter that I'm passing in. So it's going to print 705 here. Here we're just going to say return value. And same down here, we're going to print out return value. Or how about down here? We're going to do it a little differently. So I'm going to show you another way to do it. Is you do not need to put it into a variable because you can print it out directly here. So I'm just going to cut this function. So we're going to call the function inside the print statement. And when the value is returned back to the print statement, it's going to print out that value. But still, it's going to execute this function before the value is returned back to the print statement, and it's going to print it out. So this is two different ways of doing it. It's your pick, whichever way you want. Let's now open up our output window, and we're going to run and take a look. All right, so it's moving up. Nothing is printed. Nothing is printed yet until it finishes and it returns the value. And there it is, 705. And now it's going to go to the right. When it's done, it's going to return another value, 205. That's how you use the user-defined function in scripting in Roblox. In this case, we had an example with the function with no parameter, with one parameter, and with two parameters. If you need more parameters, you can just add more parameters. And also we learned how to return a value from the function. Let's now learn how to make a spinning part in Roblox. Here in my workspace, you see I have a part named green. Just make sure the part is anchored. Now let's go to our service script service. We're gonna add a script. In your script, first declare your part. Local part equals to game.workspace.my part name is green. I want my part to keep rotating and it's never gonna stop. So I'm gonna use an infinite while loop. I'm gonna say while true do To rotate the part, you're going to change the part orientation. So we're going to say part dot orientation plus equals to, we're adding a vector 3 each time. So we're going to say vector 3 dot new. And I want to rotate it about the y-axis. So I'm going to say 0 for the x component. I'm going to add 10 degrees each time we go through the while loop, and 0 for the z component. Let's put in the task wait to slow down the loop. Very important, remember your part is anchored. Now let's run tests and take a look. And there it goes. That's how you make a spinning part in Roblox. Another loop that is commonly used in scripting is the repeat until loop. Let's now go to the service script service. We're going to add a script and let's take a look. First, we're going to declare a variable local count equal to 1. To use the repeat until loop, I'm going to start with the keyword repeat, hit enter, and then I can put in anything in between the repeat and until that I want it to loop through and keep on executing. So for example, we're going to print count. Each time we go through, we're going to print count until a condition is met, until count is greater than 5. Now if we run this right now, it's going to keep on running forever because we never increment count. So we need to insert that in here. We're going to say count plus equal 1. So each time we go through, we're going to increment count by 1. Once the loop is finished, we're going to print out loop ended count equal count. Let's now open up the output window and we're going to run tests and take a look. So here it is. It printed count equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When count is 5, it incremented count. So count is now 6. 6 is greater than 5. And it exited out of the loop because this condition is now true. So it printed loop ended count equal to 6. If there's ever a case when you want to exit out of a loop, you can use a break statement to exit out of the loop. For example, here I have a loop. I have a repeat until loop. And it keeps looping until count is greater than 5. Then it exit out, it print count equal to the value of count, which is 6. Now let's say if I want to break out of this loop before count reaches 5. So I can put in a condition here. If count is greater than 3, then break. So I want to break out of this loop when count is greater than 3. Let's play now and take a look. And there you see it. It printed count equal to 1, 2, 3. So when count is 3, it printed count equal to 3. It incremented count. So count is now 4. 4 is greater than 3. The condition is true. It executed the break statement and it exited out of the loop. So it printed count equal to 4. In this case, we're using the break statement to break out of the repeat until loop. But you can use the break statement with any kind of loop. So you can use the break statement to break out of the for loop, and you can use the break statement to break out of the while loop. Inside my workspace, I have two balls. I have a blue ball and a red ball. They are both regular parts, regular spherical parts. And as we all know, the balls in Roblox, they are not made to bounce very well. So let's now run tests and take a look. You can see it bounces a little bit, but very little, not too high, right? In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to make our ball bounces higher. So now let's go back to Studio and we're going to add a script to the red ball. Just the red ball. So we're going to leave the blue ball alone so we have something to compare with. The regular ball is the blue ball and the red ball is going to be the high bounce ball. In our script, let's first declare our red ball. So we're going to say local. We're just going to call it part. So part is our red ball equals to script.parent. Now we're going to define a bunch of constants. So we're defining the new density of our part, Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to change the physical properties of our part. So here we are defining the new physical properties of our part. The density, we're going to set it to 0. We're setting everything to 0 except for the friction weight, we set it to 1. And elasticity weight, we set it to 1. And now let's declare a new variable, local. Let's call it physical properties. And we're going to set it equal to physical properties dot new. So we're creating a new physical property object, and then we're going to assign it to this variable here. And basically here, we're just going to pass in these 5 parameters. So we're going to have density, comma, friction, comma, elasticity, comma, friction weight, and the last one is elasticity weight. Notice these variables, they are all capital. They are all in all caps. The reason for that is because they are constants. So we define our regular variable with small letters, or like this, with camel case letters. But for constants, we define them in all caps. This way, we're not going to make a mistake and change those values, because those values, we want them to be constants. We don't want to change those values. And that is the reason why they are in all caps. Anyway, so now we have a new physical properties object. And all we have to do now is we have to assign it to that part. So we're going to go to the part and we're going to change the custom physical properties of that part. We're going to say part dot custom physical properties equal to our object that we have defined up here. So set it equal to physical properties. Let's now run tests and take a look. Whoa! The red ball did not bounce at all. What happened? So you can see the blue ball is the regular ball. It bounces not too high, but a little bit. And the red ball just dropped and it stays on the ground. It did not bounce up. What happened? Let's go back and take a look. It's because we set the elasticity property of the part to 0. And that's why it did not bounce. So let's change this. Instead of 0, we're going to set it to 1. And let's take another look. You can see the red ball now bounces much more than the blue ball. And if you want to make the red ball bounces even more than that, you can change its elasticity weight property. So how about instead of 1, we're going to make this 100. And let's take a look. Whoa, that is a high bounce and it doesn't stop. I want to go into the game and take a look now. So instead of run, I'm going to play test and I want to play with that ball. There's the ball. Let's go and play with it. Bounces very... Oh, look at that. That is a high bounce. It's gone. I don't think I can catch it. Alright guys, the ball is gone. And that is how you make a high bounce ball in Roblox. Here you can see I have a red block on top of a wedge. And now if I run test and take a look, you can see the red block is sliding down the slope. And it stopped. If I don't want the red block to slide down the wedge, what I can do is I can click on the block, go to the properties window, go to custom physical properties, check that box, expand it. You can go to the friction property and change it. Instead of the default 0.3 for plastic material, you can change it to 2, which is the maximum. And now if you run tests, you can see the block did not move at all. On the other hand, instead of raising the friction property, we're gonna change it to 0.01. Let's now run tests and take a look. You can see it slides down even further than before. If we wanted to go even further, we can add some friction weight here. So instead of 1, I can make it 100. Let's take a look. It goes even further, all the way till the end, and it fell off the base plate. Next, let's take a look at how to script the friction property in Roblox. I have a blue block and a red block. We're gonna put a script inside the red block, and in your script, you're just gonna enter the following lines. The red block, we're gonna change its physical properties. On the first line here, we're declaring our red block, and we have a bunch of constants. So everything is 0, density, friction, elasticity, all 0. Friction weight, we give it 100, and elasticity weight is just 1. The focus here is the friction, we're setting it to 0, and the friction weight, we're setting it to 100. So it should make this part very light because there is no friction. Here we're creating the physical properties object, and then we assign it to the custom physical properties of the part. Our part is the red block. Let's now play test and take a look. So the blue block should be heavy compared to the red block. I'm gonna try and push the blue block first to see if I can push it. So both of these blocks are the same exact size. The only difference is they are different in color and their physical properties are different because we use script to change the physical properties of the red block. Let's take a look. I'm gonna push the blue block. I can barely move it. It's not moving. You see, it's not moving at all. Let me go and try and push the red block now. I can push the red block. Look at that, it's moving. And there you have it, guys. That's how friction properties work in Roblox. Let us now learn how to generate random numbers in Roblox. To generate random numbers in Roblox, we're going to use the math.random function. And here we can specify the from and to. So, for example, from 1 to 1000. This function here is going to return a random number between 1 and 1000. Let's put in a couple of different examples. So for example here, I'm generating a random number between 1 and 1000. Then I'm printing the number out. So I'm doing this 3 times. In the second example here, I'm leaving out the starting value. So if you're leaving out the starting value, the default is 1. So in this example, it's going to create a number between 1 and 10. And again, I'm printing out the random number 3 different times. In the next example here, we're starting out with a starting value of -20, and we're going to 20. So it's going to generate a random number between -20 and 20. Keep in mind that these are going to return whole numbers. If you want to return decimal numbers, you can do it this way. In this example here, we're passing in no parameters, and it's going to return a decimal number, a random decimal number between 0 and 1. Let's run test now and take a look. We're going to start from the top. Line number 1, we got 211. So remember these top 3 lines, the first 3 lines here, they are returning a random number between 1 and 1000. So we got 211, 198, and 565. The next 3 lines, we are generating a number, a random number between 1 and 10. So we got 737. We got lucky number 7 twice. In this next example here, we're generating a random number between -20 and 20. And look at that, we got all negative numbers. So we got -3, -9, and -11. In the final example here, we're generating random decimal numbers, and these are the numbers that we have received. The decimal numbers are all between 0 and 1. And guys, that is how you generate random numbers in Roblox. Let's now learn how to clone and spawn objects into our game. First, we're going to go up here, we're going to add a part. I'm going to select a sphere. Let's make it red. And we're going to look for the position property. We're going to make it 0, 20, 0. We're going to look for the custom physical properties. Check that box. Expand it. Change the elasticity to 1. Elasticity weight to 100. If you have seen our prior tutorial on how to make a bouncy ball, that's what we're doing right here. We're making a bouncy ball. So let's now rename this to ball. That's going to be our ball. We're now going to take our ball and we're going to put it away into the server storage. So server storage is like a storage area that you can store things that you are not using right now. As you can see right now in our workspace, there is no ball in it because we're not using the ball right now. We're putting it in storage. Next, we're going to go and add a script to spawn our ball into the game as we play the game. So we're going to go to the server script service. We're going to add a script. Let's first declare our ball inside the server storage. So we're going to say local ball equal to game.serverstorage.ball. Next, we're going to make a copy of our ball. So we're not going to use this ball to move it into our workspace, but we're going to create a duplicate copy of that ball. So we're going to say local, call it a different name. So we're going to say copy equal to ball clone. This clone function is going to give us an exact copy of our ball. So now copy is a clone of the ball. They are both exactly the same. To spawn an object into your game, all you have to do is to parent it to the workspace. So we're going to say copy.parent equals to game.workspace. And that is going to spawn our copy of the ball, which is exactly the same as the ball, into the workspace. Let's switch back to the game here. You can see there's nothing inside the workspace, right? Now, if I run test, there you see it. A ball has been spawned into the workspace. Now, what if we want more balls to be spawned into the workspace? What do we do? Well, we have learned before that we can use a while loop to keep repeating a section of code, right? So here, if you want more balls to be spawned into the workspace, you just need to repeat these two statements here multiple times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a while loop here. While true do. So it's going to be an infinite while loop. And I'm going to move these two statements, cut, inside the while loop, paste. Remember, when you use the while loop, you want to put in a task wait to slow down the loop so it doesn't crash your machine. How about this time? We're going to play test and see if we can play with the balls. And whoa, look at all those balls. That is wow. It's too many balls, too many bouncy balls. I don't know if you noticed, but all the balls, they spawn at that one same location. The location is the location where we have set the ball to be at. So remember, initially we set the position of the ball to be at 0, 20, 0, and that is the exact location that the ball is going to spawn into the game. So if you don't want the ball to always spawn at that same location, you can add a random factor to the location where the ball is going to be spawned in. To do that, I'm going to declare two random variables. So my first random variables is going to be local random. Let's call it x equal to math.random. So remember from our prior tutorial, we learned that math.random is going to return a random number. How about we do it minus 30 to 30. So it's going to return a random whole number between minus 30 and 30. Here I'm going to do a Control-Shift-D to replicate the line. I'm going to change this to Z. We're generating a random number and we're loading it into this variable random x. The number is going to be between minus 30 and 30. The same goes for random Z. We're generating another random number. We're loading it into this variable random Z. Copying the ball into this copy variable. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the position of the ball before we move it into the workspace. So we're going to say copy dot position plus equal a vector 3. So we're adding this vector 3 to the current position of the ball. And the thing that we're adding in is this random factor here. So we got random x for the x component. For the y component, we want to leave it the same. So it's going to start out at position 20 studs above the base plate. And then the final component is the random z. As you may have seen, we had too many balls when we played tests earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slow down this process. I'm going to do a task weight of 0.1 instead of 0.03, which is the default when you don't put anything inside the brackets, inside the parentheses. All right, let's now play test and take a look. And there are all our random balls. You can see now they no longer spawn in one location, but they spawn all over the place because we have added a random factor to the location where they spawn. And there you have it, guys. That's how you duplicate objects in Roblox. Also, this is how you spawn objects into your Roblox games. Let's now do something fun. Let's go up here and add a part. We're gonna add a cylinder. Let me bring it over here. Go to the size property, change it to 0.2, 7, 7. Hit enter. Let's make sure our part is anchored. And we're gonna change the color of the part. Pick any color you like. I'm gonna select blue. And rename our part to trampoline. To make a trampoline is very simple. Just go to the properties of the part. Look for a property called assembly linear velocity. Expand that. This is a vector 3. To turn this part into a trampoline, all you need to do is to make sure the part is anchored. And you can set the y component indicating how high you want the trampoline to go. For example, now I'm going to put in 250. Let's play test and take a look. There it is. As soon as I hop on it, I'm bouncing on top of my trampoline. Now let's take a look at how to script a trampoline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this part. And now let's name this trampoline number 2. We're going to move trampoline number 2 out over here. And let's change the color of trampoline number 2 to something else, maybe yellow. Or maybe, let me pick something else, maybe pink. For my trampoline number 2, I'm going to go and turn off the assembly linear velocity. So instead of 250, I'm going to set it back to 0. Now if we play test, the second one, the pink one, is not going to bounce. The first one is still going to bounce because we didn't change the property of the first one. We changed the property of the second one back to 0. Let's play test and take a look. Alright, so here's the first one. Still bounces very high. And here's the second one. It does not bounce at all. Let's now use script and add a bounce to the second trampoline. I'm going to go to my trampoline number 2. I'm going to add a script. Let's first declare our part. So we have local part equal to script dot parent. Then we're going to go and change the assembly linear velocity of this part. So we're going to say part dot assembly linear velocity. The assembly linear velocity is a vector 3. So we're going to say equal to vector 3 dot new. Remember, you only want to change the y component because you want to bounce straight up. So for the x component, it's going to be 0, comma, whatever number you want to put in here. Let's make it bounce really high now. So we're going to put in 1000, comma, 0. And now let's play test and take a look. Both our blue trampoline and our pink trampoline should work now. Here's the blue one. We set the blue one at 250. And now let's go to the pink one. And whoa! Look how high it goes. That is crazy. Alright guys, so that's how you make a trampoline in Roblox. You can either set the properties directly, manually, or you can use script to script your trampoline. Another way to script your trampoline is instead of using assembly linear velocity property, you can just say velocity here. And it would work the same way. But in case you haven't heard, velocity is deprecated. So for any future work, you want to use assembly linear velocity in place of velocity. And that is how you make a trampoline in Roblox. Let's now learn how to make a conveyor belt in Roblox. I'm going to go up here, I'm going to add a part, a block. Go to the size property of the block, change it to 100, comma, 0.2, comma, 8. Hit enter. Let's now move the part closer over here. Change the color of this part to yellow. Make sure it's anchored. Rename our part to conveyor. To turn this block into a conveyor belt is very simple. Just go to the properties of that part. Assembly, linear velocity, expand that. Now if you look up here, you can see that the X direction is the red arrow and it goes to the right. It's the positive direction of the X axis. So here I want to change this to 100. This X component is going to determine the speed of my conveyor belt. So if you want it faster, give it a higher number. And if you want your conveyor belt to move slower, then give it a smaller number. Let's now play test and take a look. I'm going to run in from this end, and it's going to take me to the other end. And there it goes. So that is how you build a conveyor belt in Roblox. It's very simple. And if you like to script it, I'm going to show you how to script a conveyor belt. We're going to go to our conveyor part. We're going to add a script. In your script, just first declare the part, local part equal to script.parent. Now we're going to change the part's assembly linear velocity. We're going to say part dot assembly linear velocity. We set it equal to a vector 3 dot new. And again, we want to set the X component to 100. Or maybe make it faster this time. We're going to set it to 200, comma, 0, comma, 0. Before we play test, I'm going to go to my part now. I'm going to need to turn off the setting that we set earlier. So we're going to go to assembly linear velocity. I'm going to set this one back to 0 because we're going to use script to change that property now. Let's play test and take a look. I'm going to run here and we're going to take a look from high above. Ready? Here we go. It's going to be much faster this time. Whoa! That was fast. And same as when we were making the trampoline, you could have used, instead of assembly linear velocity, you could have used just say part dot velocity. And it would give you the same thing. The only thing is velocity property has been deprecated. So for future work, you want to use assembly linear velocity instead of velocity. And that is how you make a conveyor belt in Roblox. To upload an image to Roblox, you're going to go to your Roblox Creator Hub. The address is create.roblox.com. Once you're on this page, you can click on the 3 bars here to see your menu bar on the left side. If you already have it, then you don't need to do anything. Just go and click on Creations. Click on Development Items. These are all your items. So you have all your models here, you have your plugins, your audio. So if you want to upload audio and music to Roblox, you're going to click on this and then click on Upload Asset. But in this case, we're going to upload an image. So we're going to click on Decals. And now click on Upload Asset. Click on Upload. Select an image to upload from your computer. I'm going to upload this arrow. Page down and enter the name and description of your image. So I'm just going to say arrow here. And click on Upload. You can see my arrow has been uploaded. Let's now go to Roblox Studio and we're going to learn how to use that image that we have just uploaded to Roblox in our game. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place the arrow on this conveyor belt here to show which direction the player should go in to travel to the other side. To use the image that we have just uploaded, we're going to go to our toolbox, go to your creation tab. On the drop down, you want to select images. And here's the image that we have just uploaded. I want to place it on this part here, so I'm just going to select this part and click on the image. Immediately it goes into my part. If you don't see the image immediately, it's because it's being placed on the wrong side of the part. So right now it's being placed in the front of the part, but I want the image to be placed on top of this part. So I'm going to click on this face here and select top. Immediately you see my arrow appears on my part. Now remember, in our prior tutorial, that when we built this conveyor belt, we built it so the player goes in on the left side and it goes to the right side. So what I want to do now is I want to make a change so that the player goes from the right side to the left side. I'm going to go to my script here, the script inside the conveyor belt, and instead of plus 200, I'm going to make it minus 200. To reverse the direction, it's going to go in the opposite direction now. Let's now play test and take a look. Let me close this window here. And now I'm going to go in from this side. So you see the arrow, it shows you which way to go in. And get ready. Here we go. Woo! That was fun. Guys, that's how you upload images to Roblox, and that's how you use images inside your Roblox games. Let's now learn how to add a texture to a part in Roblox. So let's take, for example, inside my workspace, I have the base plate. I want to add a texture to this base plate. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my toolbox. I want to search for an image to use for the texture. So I'm going to go to my creations here. And on the drop down, I'm going to look for images. I'll just use the image of the rainforest here. So I'm just going to right click, copy asset ID. Now we can close this toolbox here. Go back to the base plate. We're going to click on the plus sign and add a texture. Inside the properties window, click on texture, right click on URL, and paste in the ID that we have just copied. Hit enter. And there it is. You can see the texture has been added to the base plate. I can zoom in a little bit and you can see the texture of the image. In the properties window of the texture, you have studs per tile U and studs per tile V. So right now the size of the image is 2 by 2. You can customize this. For example, I want my image to be bigger. So I'm going to make it 400 by 400. And now you can see the image is much larger. Let's play test and take a look. And there it is. You see now I have this beautiful image of the rainforest on my base plate. And guys, that's how you use texture in Roblox. To change the time of day for your game, you gotta go to the lighting service and go to the properties window, look for a property called time of day. Right now my game is at 2 p.m. If I change this to 0, hit enter, it is now at midnight. And if I look up in the sky, I should be able to see the stars and the moon. There is also another property called the clock time. You can also set the time of day by changing the clock time. For example, right now it's at 0, so it's at midnight. If I change this to 8, it's gonna be 8 a.m. And if you look around, you see bright blue sky and the sun's up. Let's now go to our service script service. We're gonna add a script and we're gonna take a look at how to change the time of day in our game. So how about we start our game at 2 p.m. So we're gonna say game dot lighting dot clock time equal to 14. That's gonna make it 2 p.m. I'm gonna do a task wait for maybe 12 seconds. And then I'm gonna change it to midnight. So I'm gonna say game dot lighting dot clock time. Or maybe how about we change it to 2 a.m. So we're gonna say equal to 2. You're gonna see that our game is gonna start in the afternoon, 2 in the afternoon. We're gonna wait for 12 seconds or less, and our game is gonna change to 2 a.m. in the nighttime. Let's play and take a look. Alright, so this is 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and if I look up at the sky, I see the sun. And give it some time, and there it is. Now it has changed to 2 a.m. And if I look up at the sky, you see I see the stars and the moon. Guys, that's how you set your game to daytime and nighttime in Roblox. Let's now learn how to make a day and night cycle in Roblox. We're going to go to our service script service. We're going to add a script. Let's start by setting the time of day of our game to midnight. So we're going to say game dot lighting dot clock time equals to 0. That is going to set our game time to midnight. Now we're going to add a loop. It's going to be an infinite while loop. So we're going to say while task dot wait do. And each time it goes through the loop, we're just going to increment our clock time. So we're going to say game dot lighting dot clock time plus equal to 0.01. So we're adding 0.01 each time it goes through this loop. And once the clock time goes past 24, it's automatically going to start a new day cycle. Let's check it out. So I'm starting out at midnight, and if I go to my lighting service, you can see that the clock time and the time of day is running, and now it's daytime. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning right now. And notice here that the clock time and the time of day is still running. If I look up, I can see the sun is coming down, and pretty soon it's gonna be nighttime. Now it's dark and the moon is going up. So notice right here, when it reaches 24, it flips back to 0. The clock time and the time of day, it flips back to 0 and it starts a new day. And guys, that is the simplest way to make a day and night cycle in Roblox. You can see here in my workspace I have a part here named light bulb, and my environment is very dark. So what I want to do now is I want to add a light to this light bulb to make it shining bright. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my light bulb, I'm going to click on the plus sign, and I'm going to look for point light. I'm adding a point light to my part named light bulb. Now I want to make it brighter, so I'm going to select the point light, go to the brightness property, and I can adjust this to make my light brighter. Let's go to our service script service. We're going to add a script, and we're going to look at how to turn on and off our light. So let me start by declaring the light bulb inside the workspace. I'm going to say local light bulb equal to game.workspace.lightbulb. Next, I want to turn off my point light when I start. So I'm going to say lightbulb.pointlight.enable equal to false. And that is going to turn off the point light. I'm going to give it 10 seconds. Task wait 10. And now we're going to turn on the light bulb. We're going to say light bulb.pointlight.enable equal to true. All right, let's play test and take a look. So we're going to start out with our light bulb being off. Where's my light bulb? Oh, there it is. Okay, and we give it a few seconds, and there it is. It's on. Guys, that's how you add some light to your games. In my game, you can see here I have a script for the day and night cycle. For more details on how this works, you can refer to our prior tutorial on day and night cycle. What I want to do now is I want to add an automatic lamp. So let's start by adding a cylindrical part. I'm going to add a cylinder. Let's change the size to 12, 2 and 2. So I'm making it a little bit longer. Change the color to black. And why don't we rename this to post? Next, I'm going to add a lamp. So I'm going to add a sphere, change the color to yellow, and rename this to lamp. So now I have a lamp and I have a post. Oh, let's make sure they're both anchored. So I'm going to select both. click on anchor. And now we're going to select both, right click, group them as a model, and rename this model to lamppost. One more thing I need to do here is I need to add a light to the lamp. So I'm going to go to my lamp here, click on the plus sign. We're going to add a point light. We're going to go to the lamppost. We're going to add a script. And our script is going to turn off the light when it's bright outside, and it's going to turn on the light when it's dark outside. Inside your script, just enter the following lines. On the first line here, we're declaring our lamp. Here I have an infinite while loop. It's going to keep on running, and every time it goes through, it's going to check the clock time of the game. If the current time of the game is between 6 and 19 is 7 p.m., so it's 6 a.m. If it's between 6 a.m. and 7 p.m., it's going to turn off the light. Otherwise, it's going to turn on the light. Let's now play test and take a look. So I'm starting out at midnight here, and you can see my lamp is on right now. Let me look for the moon. Oh, the moon just went down, and my automatic light just went off automatically. The sun is going to the other side, and the sun is coming down, so it should be nighttime very soon. Now it's in the evening, and the sun is gone, and the light is back on automatically. Guys, that's how you make a day and night cycle with an automatic lamp in Roblox. Before we end our tutorial, I just want to show you how to save and publish your models to Roblox. Let's take, for example, our lamppost. We want to save this to Roblox so that we can use it in a different experience at another time, at a later time. To save our lamppost to Roblox, I'm going to right click on the lamppost, and then I'm going to select Save to Roblox. Let me now resize this window so we can see everything on it. Here you can enter the title and the description of your item. For example, automatically turns on when dark. And now let's scroll down a little bit. You have an option here if you want to share this with the marketplace. So I'm going to share it. So now that means everybody else can come and download this lamppost and use it in their experience. To upload this to Roblox, just click Submit. Successfully submitted. So now anyone in Roblox can go to their toolbox, go to the search box, and enter lamppost with 2 P's. If you don't see it right away, you can search by creator. So here, enter price and select price counterpuncher. Click done. And there it is. There's the lamppost. If you click on it, it's going to go to your games. I'm going to put it inside my workspace. Notice I already have one lamppost inside the fun stuff folder. Now I'm going to download another one into the workspace. I'm going to click on it and click OK because it has a script. And it's a clean script, so you don't have to worry about this. Just click OK, and you can see it went into my workspace. So now I have 2 lampposts in my game, which I'm just going to delete the new one here. That's how you save your models to the store, to the Roblox store, for anyone else to be able to use your model inside their game. Here, as you can see, we have a pretty fun game. We have an automatic lamp that goes on and off when it's dark or when it's bright outside. And we have a conveyor belt here. We have some trampolines over here. And also we have an ice rink over here for people to go skating. I'm now going to publish this game to Roblox for the millions of people to play. So I'm going to go to game settings. For the name of the game, I'm going to change it to the Price CP Funhouse. And the description, I'm just going to say a fun place to hang out. Click on save. Oh, one more thing. Let's go to permission just to make sure it's public. So permission right now is private. I'm going to make it public for everyone to be able to play. Because you do get Robux when people play your game. So guys, you can show your support by coming to play the game. It's a fun place to be. And I'm going to click on save to save all these. And I'm going to go to file. and publish to Roblox, just to make sure everything is sent to Roblox. So there you have it, guys. Hope you have enjoyed our full course tutorial on scripting in Roblox and find it to be helpful. Just a final reminder, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell for future contents. And feel free to share this tutorial with your friends. Sharing means caring. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. Peace.